Right, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to start something really interesting, which is our main, the project that we're going to do in this course. Not the final project that you have to do by yourself, but this is actually the thing that we'll be like making along the way. Everything we learn from now on, we'll be applying to this simple blog site, right? So Blogify is the name of the site, and it is basically just for blogs and nothing else. And initially, I was actually thinking to make something more complex and, which would have interested you even more than this. But the thing is that I didn't want to start with something so complex and then give you something easier in the project, right? The project will be of the same or probably a little more difficult than this, right? But anyway, so this blog site will not just be like you just altering the HTML whenever you want to add a blog. This will be a completely interactive site. You will be displaying like your top, let's say the last 5 blogs on your home screen. There will be an explore section where you'll like put more of your, where you'll like show all of your blogs, right? And then you could like click read more to show your blog, complete blog, because on the home screen, of course, there will be just small, like very small descriptions to the blog, right? Not the complete blog, of course. And there will be like user login, user sign up, and all of those things, because authentication too we're going to see. And you will have like a page from where you could add your own like blogs, right? You will just go there. It will be a complete interface. You will have like text boxes and all, and you will enter your things inside those text boxes. You'll press enter, and then you will eventually post that blog, right? And that would be added to the database. So we actually know almost everything relating to this, like things like authentication and all. They just require some new libraries and using them, right? They don't require you to actually set up a lot of new things. Probably the only thing that you need to set up after this is the databases, right? Which is like you will have to install Mongo if you are on a local system. Of course, that's not the case on Google, because they give it pre-installed, because we selected that option while creating the container. So we now know a lot to actually start with the site, and that's why I've decided to actually do it now, right? So what we are going to do right now is we're going to just set up the initial routes. We are going to print things and very minimal styling or no styling at all, and we'll proceed with the styling as we move along. And one thing is that I've not actually built this myself till now. I'm going to move along this with you, right? And I won't know what I'm going to do in any video. I'll be just thinking about it, and that way you'll be able to see how I actually proceed with things, right? So yeah. So first of all, when you are building any website, and especially when you're building it on your own, right? In this like for this Blogify, I'll be doing the things and you will be following along. So you won't have to keep track of what all is left to do and what all is already done. You'll be just doing the things that we'll be discussing in that particular video. So you won't actually face a lot of problem in actually like planning it out, right? But when you're building a website by yourself and when you're starting out, you will have 100 thoughts in your mind, right? When you don't have someone who's planning it for you. So at that point of time, so the first step of creating a website should always be planning, right? So, and planning can include anything you want. It depends totally on you. Like I would plan things by listing out the features I want, right? And then you would keep on adding things to that or removing things from that. And how do you actually plan? We're not 10 years in the past, right? We don't actually write things and cut them off and then rewrite things and all, because we have really good tools to do all of them. So that tool is known as Trello, right? So Trello is a website which you can use for like managing your data, or like managing things. This can basically be a to-do list. You could use this in everyday life too, but things like these are actually helpful in web development. So I'll give a link to actually get registered to this in the description. You can go to this and get registered, and then you will have to create a board, right? You will go to boards. It will be a home screen. You'll have to go to boards, and then you have to create a new board. I've already created one, right? So which is known as Blogify, and inside which I have nothing yet. There's a prompt asking me to enter list title, but that's all, and that's like default. I didn't do anything for that. Right. So here now I can start planning, right? So how this actually works is you can make different lists and you can press enter. So I've added a list called features, and then usually in any programmer's workflow you would have three sections, which is to do, and then doing, done. And often if it actually depends on the project, if you're like working with other people, and then you have to like, it's like you are building something and they have to check that out and they have to test that out, then you have something known as quality check too, and you could make this for your own project too, but I don't prefer making it, right? So yeah, so these are all the lists for now. So inside these lists now I can add things. First of all, features, I can add show top 5 blogs on home, have explore screen, have rich text editor, enter blogs, auth basically is authentication. I'll edit that, authentication, right? And what else do we need? We need like, alright, so these are like the only basic features that you would need in a site, and I'm sure these are just the beginning. This is just the beginning of that, and when we move along we'll like do it. So anyway, these are the first thing that I could think of while thinking of features, right? So let's say now I'm going here, so I can just simply drag a card from that to this list. So now this is in the to do, right? And then when I'm actually working on it, I can move it to doing, and then I can move it to done. So this way it becomes really easy to keep track, and you might be actually very like thinking that why would we even need this, right? Because you haven't built a website till now. If you have, then you must know that managing things and keeping a track of what all you have to do is often really difficult, and almost every programmer uses one site or the other to keep track of things, right? I use Trello. I've also worked on another site when like I was working on a team and they preferred some other site. But the thing is that you anyway need a planning tool, right? And for that, I'm like recommending Trello. You could use anything. You could use Notion, which is another site, or anything. Even GitHub has a lot of ways to manage things, right? So yeah, so these are the things that I need to do. And first thing in the to do that I'll add is add basic routes. So this is the first thing that I need to do, and I'll move this into doing, right? Because this is the first, like the main we need to do. And I'll relieve this here, and I do setup basic. Like I'm adding things directly to doing here, but that's often not what you do because you already have things here, and then you will be like adding things to the to do as we move along, and then a lot of things. But for now, what we have to do is we have to set up the basic file structure. Great. So let's move into our this, and inside the web dev course, I'll make a folder called Blogify. Then I'll cd into Blogify, and currently I have nothing. So like always, the first thing I do is npm init, right? And this time we can actually pay a little attention to this. Description you can leave. Entry point will be app.js. Test command we're not going to use. Git repository we could actually add, but you don't know what Git is. Later on we are going to use Git in this, but for now you can just leave this blank. And you can work with Git without even adding Git repository too. That's not a problem. In author, I recommend that you add your name, right? Because you're making it, and this is a big project, so it's always good to have your name. License you can just accept. Excellent. So now I have my package.json, right? So let's set up our basic file structure. I'll do touch app.js. Then I'll open that up first of all. Now the next thing that I do is I do npm in here npm I -s express ejs, right? And we're also gonna need body parser if you remember. I think I've spelled body parser wrong, right? I always make such mistakes. Right, so my 3 packages have been added, and like this is basically all that we're going to do for this video. This is getting long. So what we'll do in the next video is we'll set up our basic app.js file, and then we'll start like making the routes. And we'll not be putting a lot of things there right now, and we'll be using arrays to have data, which will be like really temporary, of course. But the next section after this will be databases, and then we'll shift all our data to an online database with which the data will become permanent. Excellent. So yeah, so that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.